hope you're doing well. I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now, but I know what I'm like. I always forget to mention things in videos or forget to give all the information, so this is why it's taken a while, because I wanted to make sure I had everything. And even now I'm pretty sure I've forgotten things. So if at the end of this video you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments below and I'm sure I'll be able to try and answer them for you. Also, I apologise if you hear any weird noises. My flatmates are in, there are kids playing outside, and yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare to film at the moment. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about some of the secrets of Wicked the musical. I've been seeing the show for 5 years now, and over the course of those 5 years I feel like I've just come across random bits of knowledge and I wanted to share them with you guys. So I have a list in my notebook here, which you probably can't see. So yeah, I'm going to start right at the top of the show with No One Mourns the Wicked. If you've not been to see the show that many times, you might not have noticed this, but if you look very carefully on the ensemble of No One Mourns the Wicked, you'll notice that there are a lot more characters in there than you think. When I say characters, I also mean performers. If you look closely, you'll be able to see the performer playing Fiyero, Nessa Rose, Bok, and Dr. Dilmond, all in the opening number of No One Mourns the Wicked, which I just think is really funny. Again, if you haven't seen Wicked, or you've only seen it maybe once, you might not have paid attention at the start of the show, but just pay a bit closer attention to Galinda's expressions in the first number, because I always find it's really fascinating to really watch the Galinda and how she acts out No One Mourns the Wicked, because if you've seen the show, you'll know that it's quite pivotal to the end of the show. So I always like really watching to see how they act in the first number. Again, in No One Mourns the Wicked, Galinda is telling the story of how she knows Elphaba, and there's a scene on the stage between Elphaba's mother and a random person who we get to know later on, and also Elphaba's father. And when Elphaba's mother and the stranger are on stage, they have a little green bottle, and that looks like it's lit up. In fact, it's just a glow stick inside the bottle, just a tiny little glow stick, and that makes it look like it's glowing. Obviously, glow stick. When the stranger leaves the stage, we find out that Elphaba's mother is pregnant, and the way they do this, if you watch closely, Elphaba's mother is wearing a corset, and then as the stranger disappears down the stage, he actually takes this off and takes it with him, and so she has to hold the belly in because there's obviously a baby bump there, and I'm not sure, I've never found out how that bit works, but it does expand obviously when she lets go of it, and she has to kind of push it around a little bit to mold it into a bump. So I'm not sure what the kind of fabric or whatever it is that is underneath her costume there, but yeah, it's the corset that keeps it in, and then obviously when the guy takes that off and takes it with him, then the bump can come out. And then another funny little thing that you might not notice if you've only seen the show a few times, but the midwife brings the baby onto the stage. Obviously you'll notice the bed is completely flat until Elphaba's mother gets onto it, and then yeah, the midwife brings that on in the blankets, and then they unwrap the baby there. Weird little things that you get to notice. In the next scene, Dear Old Shiz, this is the first time that Elphaba uses magic in front of the Shiz students, and Nessa Rose is the sort of victim, I guess, of that. Her wheelchair goes a bit crazy, and when I first started seeing the show, I was trying for ages to figure out how they did that, because it's not like she has anything on the chair that she can control the movements, and most of the time the Nessa does look genuinely quite scared of what's going on. I think I heard someone say that once they saw it and she rolled like quite close to the front of the stage, and I know I'd be petrified at that. But there's a box under her wheelchair, which is obviously all the electronics and stuff. If you notice in later scenes, her wheelchair obviously doesn't have that underneath because it's not needed further on in the show. But that's just an interesting thing. If you know how that works or who's doing it, let me know. In the song What Is This Feeling / Loathing, it's quite funny. When I went to the YouTube space for the Wicked event for the 10th anniversary, they had the props of the letters that each girl has, and they do actually have the exact words on there. I've got a photo of it, so I'll insert it here. Later on in a scene where Elphaba offers Dr. Dilmond her lunch, it's quite funny because the actress, gets to choose the snack that she has in the paper. I think it was Rachel that once said that they had something originally and she hated the taste of it, so asked to change it. So they get to pick the snack they have, and then I believe it's kind of like a sugar paper that it's wrapped in, because the Dilmond does eat it. And I remember, I think it was Christopher Howell, when he played the role, he told me that there's a certain trick for like folding it within your mouth with your tongue. So it's quite a tricky thing. In the next scene, just before dancing through life, Fiyero is brought onto the stage by his friend Averick. I say friend, probably more of like a servant type person. But pay attention to this character because the person playing him actually has some really interesting roles throughout the show, and when you know that it's them, it just makes it really funny, for me anyway. The next thing of note, which I always find really fascinating to remember, is that in Popular, when the beds come onto the stage, they're actually hanging up in the wings. So you can just imagine the two beds hanging up there, coming down and then being onto the tracks, and I just find that really insane to know that the beds are just hanging in the wings. The next scene I'm going to talk about is when Dr. Dillerman gets taken away and his class is taken over by someone else, and they bring on the lion cub. Now remember what I said about the person who plays Averick? Well, they are the person that is inside the box underneath the lion cub cage with their hand up into the puppet and controlling the lion cub. And now when you see the show next, just look at how small that box is and how cramped it must be. Ugh, I just can't imagine doing that. Also, it's something that's really interesting and crazy because you don't even see it as an audience member. I only know about this because I saw it when we went backstage at Wicked, but on the cloth cover that's on the lion cage, on the other side, so not the side facing the audience, the side facing like the back of the stage, there's actually an Oz emblem, like the city of Oz. And it's such a small detail that no one sees, but it's still there, and I just find that really fascinating. Also, with the green syringe that's used, that looks like it's filling up because there's simply fabric attached to the actual syringe pulley bit of it. So obviously when the handle is pulled up, the fabric goes with it, so that's how it looks like it's a liquid. Again, I think I have a photo of that and I'll insert it here. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit now, and we're going to One Short Day. Now, if you've never really like counted in your head, I always do this now, it's really weird and kind of annoying, but the quick change between the train station scene and One Short Day for Elphaba and Glinda is around 13 seconds. And if you watch closely when they're running to the back of the stage, sometimes you can see whoever's playing Elphaba like unbuttoning her, not a cardigan, what do you call it? Like the waistcoat type bit of her outfit. Like you can see them trying to do as much as they can before they get off stage because they've literally got no time at all to get into completely new costumes. It's madness. Probably the funniest thing about the show for me, like when I found out this piece of information, it made me laugh so much. But you know, the three bobbleheads in One Short Day, they are played by whoever is playing Nessa Rose, Bok, and again Averick, and that just cracks me up. I think it goes from left to right. I think it's Nessa and then Averick in the middle and then Bok. I'm not sure, obviously it doesn't matter, you never get to see who it is inside the bobbleheads, but just the fact that they have to be ridiculous in those costumes and they're like two of the main characters, it just cracks me up. So the next scene we have is at the Wizard's Palace, I guess, and the wizard head has its own operator, so it's not the performer playing the wizard who is operating it. I mean, that's kind of an obvious one because that's such a certain pattern to do, and I can imagine it's quite a complicated thing to master, but yeah, that's just that nugget of information for you. If we move on a little bit further, not too far obviously, but we have the scene where Chistery gets his wings, and I find this one really fascinating. How many times have I said fascinating in this video? But the way that they do the wings is they're obviously in the back of the jacket, and then the only way I can think of describing it, you know, like for example Andy from Toy Story, who has the pull toggle at the back, like toys that have that, it's in the left hand side. So I think that it's meant to be when Chistery's kind of like grasping its heart or something, he then pulls it, and then obviously the wings come out, and the toggle is such a thin, like probably not string, probably like nylon or something, but you really can't see it very well. And then it's just very clever choreography after that because you don't really see him really close, But yeah, that's how the wings come out of the jacket. I'm pretty sure if you're a big Wicked fan, you've probably gone through YouTube and found the video of how the Defying Gravity lift works. If I can find that video, I will link it in the description for you. But when you see how it works, it's actually just really simple, but it's very effective, obviously. Okay, moving on into Act 2, we're going through to the Wicked Witch of the East scene with Elphaba and Nessa Rose. Elphaba is obviously in the right-hand side of the wardrobe, as if you're looking at it, and you might think it's a bit weird that only the one side of the wardrobe like shows Elphaba when she's in it, but there is a reason for this. Just after that, Elphaba does the spell on Nessa Rose's shoes, and obviously they are silver shoes, and then it's very clever lighting that makes them look red momentarily, and then yeah, after that they go back to being silver. It would be cool if they could like make them turn red completely, but yeah, that would maybe be a bit too much. You might have wondered when seeing the show how the character of Bok becomes the Tin Man so quickly, and I remember when I first started seeing the show I was like, oh, that's really amazing, like how do they do that? And then one time I was sitting quite far on the left hand side and I just saw how it happened. So obviously at the start of the scene, Elphaba's in the wardrobe on the right hand side, and the left hand side you don't see, and that's because another person is in the left hand side of the wardrobe. And when Elphaba takes the wheelchair round to the back, the normal Bok swaps with the person who's in the wardrobe. So normal Bok gets in the wardrobe and the Tin Man comes out of the wardrobe and replaces him in the seat. And then obviously it's a voiceover for the next bit where Bok's saying like, where am I, what happened? That's how it works, and I just think that's really simple but really effective, because obviously, can you imagine trying to get face paint on that quickly? That would be a nightmare. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit more now. We're going to go to No Good Deed and how Elphaba enters this scene. So we've just had the catfight scene before, and obviously Elphaba runs off the stage, and during that time, if you're like in the front 2 rows, just keep an eye out, and keep an ear out even, not an eye out, because more often than not I've been able to hear when the Elphaba is coming down through the stage, and then there's like a little corridor behind the orchestra pit, and then there's the entrance for her to get into the little bit for the lift. It's the same lift that's used at the start of the show when the man with Elphaba's mother goes down into the stage. Quite a hard one to explain. I don't think I'll be able to find any sort of visuals for it. But yeah, it's the same lift, and you can see how the Elphaba like clings to the book stand as she's coming up out of the stage, because it's such a small little platform really, and when there's the book stand as well, there's not a lot of room. Okay, so I've only got a couple more and then I'm done. We are moving on to the witch hunters scene just before For Good. I always wondered how Elphaba got onto the stage, like, because obviously the witch hunters, they're all over the place, but when they group together at the end, there's a very clever moment where Elphaba has to run on stage and be hidden by a witch hunter, and then obviously is crouched behind everyone with her cape over her to then do that like big dramatic flourish. When Elphaba then opens the trapdoor where Dorothy is, that's just a light panel underneath. Obviously they're not mean enough to put someone down there, but an interesting thing is that the character of Dorothy is the voice of, so her like screams and everything, and then in the shadow at the death scene, the melting scene, is played by, I don't know how to say the name, it's either Epiphany or Fanny, but it's one of Glinda's 2 friends. So you've got Fanny and Shen Shen. So yeah, that's just quite a fun little thing that I've learned over the years. One of the last things is obviously the melting scene itself. I find this scene really fascinating because obviously it's really clever use of light and I think projections, it must be projections. So yeah, there's the light at the back of the stage, and then obviously depending on where people are is how big their shadows look onto the curtain. And I'm pretty sure there's got to be a certain stage where obviously the Elphaba is going down and then it changes to like a projection, like a fixed one. But honestly, I've never really truly found out how that scene works. So if you know, please tell me, thanks. If there's anything else that you would like to know about what happens in Wicked and how they do it, please do let me know. I'm so sure that I've forgotten so many things, and I probably have so many other bits of information that have just like left my mind, and I'm really annoyed about that. Anything that you want to know, just ask me in the comments and I will try my best to help you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you have, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of me in the future. I hope you're doing really well, and I will see you very soon. Bye!